Hey there, and welcome back to Scrap with Penny. I'm going to start my video off a little bit differently today. My Q&A video just posted a couple of days ago, and I shared a little bit about my photo process in that, but I've never really talked about how I select my paper, my sketch, and my pictures. So I thought I would do that a little bit at the beginning of this. I'm still working in 2021, and this is my printout, which you've seen probably many times. And the story I'm working on today is having dinner with one of my girlfriends that was in town on business. So I'll go ahead and mark that as done, because as per usual, I work start to finish. I can't really do a lot of, I can't have a lot of stuff hanging around undone. For one, storage of it, and two, the nagging sensation of an unfinished to-do list. Okay, so in this, she was in town. I have 3 photos from this night at dinner. The 2 of us outside the restaurant. And then I have a shot of the dinner plate. Steve was with us, so we did a shared family plate, family style plate, which is pretty common in Texas, especially for barbecue. And then the 3rd photo I have is a picture of a cocktail, which I loved it there. It was a cucumber gimlet and some macaroni and cheese. I didn't print that out because since my heart surgery, I'm on medicine that interferes with alcohol, and so I'm just choosing to forget those wonderful cocktails that I used to love having. Okay, so I knew my photo topic. I knew I wanted to work on this event, so I narrowed down my pictures. I also thought it would be fun to do 4x6. I don't do 4x6 a lot with you all, but there's another reason why I wanted to do 4x6, and that is because I wanted the name of the restaurant to show up, and I wanted this picture of us. I've got some dead space on this photo, but it's okay. This was important to me, and it's because it was our favorite restaurant, and it has since closed, which you may have heard me tell that story also. Okay, so at this point, I know I've got 2 photos, and I go and I start looking through page maps. Now, I have page maps stored in a folder that I can access very quickly from my desktop, and I have it set to large icons. I'll drop a screenshot in right here of what it looks like, and I just hit the space bar down to move through, and when I see sketches that pique my interest, I open them up. And so I'm going to drop a screenshot in right now that shows several sketches that I considered, and I was looking at them. And this is one of the reasons why I love a Mac, is that you can get this screen preview by just hitting the F4 button. Just muscle memory that does that. So I'm looking at all of these sketches, and at this point I start thinking about paper. Now, I haven't printed my pictures out yet because I haven't decided my sketch. I just have them identified. But I'm looking at the colors in my pictures, and I'm thinking about paper, and I'm looking at the sketches to kind of see, what can work. Because if a sketch calls for a ton of embellishments or some circular elements, then I'm going to want to pick paper that would meld with that. And if it calls for a lot of embellishments and it's a paper line that that maybe I don't have a lot of embellishments for, then I'm going to try and steer clear of that. If it's a sketch with a bunch of tags and the collection doesn't have tags in it, I'm going to think about, do I want to have to make the tags, or what would I do here instead? So I'm just evaluating all of my choices. And as I work through all of the choices, I ended up with, I think, 4 that I liked, that I was willing to consider. And at that point, I decided to print out the whole month. Now, I'm not actively working on printing these out, but as it comes up that I can print them out or that I need to print them out, I do. And I'm storing them right here. I'm storing them in alphabetical order because that's how I have my file folders sorted. So like all of my Decembers are together, all of my Januaries are together. And if I want to see if I've printed it out, then I'm storing this in the way it would appear in my folder. So if, let's say I like December 2024 and I want to know at a glance if I've printed that out already, then I would come here and I would say, oh no, I don't have it printed out. And once I finish, then I'll collate these printed out pages into this, and slowly over time I'll build a little printed out library of these sketches for easier reference. Now I've done this one, and I think for this video I did print out the single sketch, but I haven't printed it out yet. Sometimes I print out the one sketch to show y'all, and sometimes I don't. I mean, it's just kind of it varies. So I just have a handful of these because, like I said in my Q&A video, I only started working with page maps when I started these process videos, and I do it for y'all because they're readily available, they're incredibly varied, and they're free. So it's easy, everyone can come to the party kind of thing. Now, I mean, sometimes I do class content or whatever and I can't share the sketch, but I am mindful. I mean, I'm doing this for our little community. So if I can use a sketch that you can access, then that is a better option. Okay, so let's start here. This is the sketch right here that I was considering, and I'll pull this little die to outline it. Ultimately, I didn't pick this, and it's because this shows at an offset. I recently did a layout that was done with an offset to this side, and I am mindful of that, and I just like to have a little work that's varied. I'm going to tell you another thing that I was considering is I have this punch. I showed this in my room tour because it's sitting in a drawer, and I like to use things quickly when getting them because it starts my brain reinforcement that, hey, you have that. So like if you buy something and bring it in and put it away, for me, I'm not going to remember that I have something new. So that's just it. So on this one, I didn't pick it because it's an offset. I do like this sketch, and it has the scallop there, but it's just not going to work for this layout. I was like, what is the word? Okay, and on this one, I was considering this one down here, and bearing in mind that I just showed you that big honkin' scallop punch, you can see why my eye was drawn to this. And the other thing I'm looking at my sketches is something that'll work for 2 or 3 photos. And I'm not afraid of changing the photos on these, the size, the number, the orientation. I like this. I like a lot of paper. I don't know why I didn't pick this. I think I was just wanting a different look than something I've done lately. So again, I'll consider that for something else. Then the third one, it was hard to choose which one I would go with. I really like this one a lot because it's a band, it's a block, it's larger photos, it's got this cute little journaling with a notebook punch, which I love. But I couldn't easily see how I could showcase my scallop punch because you wouldn't see a scallop here or here and then here, so I thought this isn't the time for that option. And so I picked this one. But you say your pictures are not horizontal. So enter the rotation. And so if I could give you any tip, it would be learn the power of turning the page. And so I'm pretty excited about this because it has 2 photos. They're larger photos. It's got that big scallop. and it's got a big block of paper. Now, as I said, I'm thinking about paper as I'm looking at my sketches, but this is the one we're going with. And I have on this orange shirt. So I was trying to think of paper that would meld with the color in the photos. And I thought, the other thing is, I wanted some embellishments. I wanted it to have a lot of flowers, because this is eating out. And you've heard me say before that there are no eating out collections. I looked at What's Cooking from Simple Stories, and that's geared toward fall and baking and cooking in the kitchen. And so I thought, okay, well, plan B would be to just do a floral motif, because I'm with a girlfriend and that would work. Didn't want to do stars, didn't want to do hearts, and so I wanted a collection that's floral heavy. And for me, that's going to be Cocoa Vanilla. So let's see. I wanted to put these on deck also because I wanted you to see. Okay, so here are the two collections. And I mean, if you look at them, it's pretty easy to see. I'm going to go with this one because of the blue, because of the red that, you know, melts with my shirt. Look at that. And these colors seem a little muted, like that, you know, this isn't a good match. So it quickly boiled down to Storyteller, which I will tell you is one of my all-time favorite collections. And I'm sorry for the crinkling of the plastic, but I wanted to show you, I only have like 5 Cocoa Vanilla collections. I don't buy everything they put out, but because their collections are so deep and so extensive, I do have them all stored together. And it makes it so easy. In fact, I think I've said it before, like if I could do it over, I would store everything like this. But, you know, that ship has sailed, and I'm not going to undo all of my binders and sheets of die cuts and chipboard and sticker sheets. So this is my collection, and you know, there's a cute little journal card, which I think my sketch has like a little journal element on it, and I think this is going to work out great. So that's kind of a behind the scenes intro into how I get started on what I'm going to do. And at this point, I'm very excited to get started. Once I have a sketch, photos, and paper, I'm ready to rock and roll. So I shared this in my Q&A video too. This is how I store my pattern paper scraps. You can see from all the scraps that I have used this collection more than once, and I love it. I kind of ration it out, like I won't let myself use it all up. Because like my favorite color is navy, and it's so hard to get a collection that's got the navy in it that's not super masculine or geared toward Father's Day or July 4th or whatever. So this is just a good all-around collection, and I'll be mindful of this as I'm working. I like to cut into my scraps before cutting a whole piece of paper. I mean, I would like to play with this for a good long while, so I'm not in any hurry on using it up. Now, in addition to my fun scallop punch, I have a tearing ruler that Scrapbooking Quebec used, and she sent me to eBay. She didn't literally send me. I was influenced by her video to go out to eBay and find this, and I've used it a couple times and I like it. I don't use it all the time because it's a very unique look, and I think it'll work well for this. But see, this is a little torn edge, so I'm going to get to use 2 tools that I've brought into my space in the last 6 months, and this is going to be a smaller piece, which I can probably use my A5 paper stack on. And in case you never worked with Cocoa Vanilla, they have unique designs in their A5 that are not in their 12 by 12, and I love that. I love the variety. So when I go to pull this out, I'm going to look specifically for papers that aren't available in the 12 by 12. And so with all that, let me pause the video, clear my desk off, and then we'll get started on the layout. And if you have any questions about this process or the sharing of, you know, how I get started, drop them below. And I thought about making this just a separate video on its own, but I think it's okay to put it at the front of this process video. The next step is I need to figure out the math on this sketch. I'll need something that is 7 tall, and I don't know if I can use the A5. Okay, let me stay on track. So that's the next thing, is I kind of know my measurements. So I'm looking for one big solid piece of paper, an accessory piece of paper, a stripe, and an accessory piece of paper. So I pulled my white cardstock out, and I'm just going to start looking at the paper for something that strikes my fancy. Now I know I'll use this stripe, but I'm pretty sure I've got it in my scrap page protector, so I'm not going to set that to the side. So it looks like I've seen all the paper designs. You can also just use this. I think I would probably, out of what I saw, I think I would probably go for this little bitty floral. And so this is where you kind of start, for me, you kind of start piecing it together. Now I haven't trimmed the branding strip off of this basil orange peel because I'm not certain that I won't substitute in a wood grain. Okay, so now I need to pick my, yeah, so I can't use the A5 because it's not 6 by 8, which even if it were, it wouldn't work. That's okay. That's okay. So then I want something that's a contrast to this, and look, I've got this scrap of the stripe, so I know we're looking at that. Yeah, that's about the right amount. And here's my photos. So my next thing I need to pull is the piece of paper that's going to go behind this. And there's kind of one obvious candidate to me, and it's that blue, it's this piece of paper that's on the other side of this. I like the Cocoa Vanilla a lot because of the weight of it. Now I need something for the scallop. It needs to be kind of solid, in my opinion. And it's shorter. I might could use some of the A5 on this. So in looking at the A5, I didn't see anything that was more of a solid and that was a high contrast. And so I do see this in my scraps. It might work with embellishments. Well, first of all, I need to rotate this so that I get more contrast up there. You know, I didn't want the blue on the blue. So here's my collection I'm looking at. I think it'll work. I don't want the hearts because you're going to do a scallop. I don't want the plaid because the same thing. I don't think it'll make much sense. So, meaning, you know, when you have this edge up against something, because of these holes, you want it to be more solid. I kind of have a thing against green, and there's green in the photos from the jalapenos, but it's not the same hue. It's not the same tint. Can't do the flower because of this. The hearts won't work. I think the yellow would kind of contrast. See, I don't think you could put the yellow up against the food. I don't think it would work. So I think if I want to use this collection, then these are the papers to use. The floral, the stripe, the blue. And I think when there's more blue on it, cutting this floral down, and you know, like here's going to be my edge. Oh, it looks better already. Okay, so let me cut this to 8 by 12. I cleared my space off some because it was getting crowded, and I've got these two pieces of paper cut, And to decide how big I want my pink scallop to be, you know, it shows 4, but remember, I've got slightly bigger photos. So this is a new punch, and I've never worked with it before. So I'm going to show you just a little tip on how I get good punches on my border punches. So the first thing you want to do is to center your punch. And I just use my mat for this. So right here's the center. And then the second thing you do is you true up your piece of paper. And I always start in the middle and work my way one way and then go back and work it another. I thought when I saw this punch, found it on Amazon. I don't even remember how I was looking for punches, but new punches are so rare anymore. You know, we used to get releases on the holidays by Martha Stewart and then at the 2 craft conventions. So here's my punch. I'm going to trim this down and we're going to get a feel. Okay, so this is pretty big. So I think if I did 3, that would be enough. And I'm going to flip those. I'm just trying to. Okay, so I'm going to plan on doing 3 punches. So I'll measure and work on the pink. Well, let's see. This is my piece I have. Is it going to be perfect? So I've got this punched out, and it's so exciting to have a new punch to play with because I have always loved punches. And so then the last thing I need to do is my blue backer. It shows the photos coming onto the scallop, and I want a little bit of an inset, meaning I want this floral paper to show a little bit. And interestingly enough, it shows the scallop on top of the blue, so that's nice. It'll still show. So if I go 1/2 to the left and about 1/2, so I think if I do 10, okay, so we'll do a whole width, we'll tear, and then we'll trim. That's what we'll do on that side. So then on my height, well, I know this is 6, and I said I want a 1/2 inch, so I'll do 7. So it's going to take a big chunk of this beautiful piece of paper. I'm going to cut it 7 by 12. So I've got this trimmed to 7 by 12. Are y'all like me? Like you've got all this paper and then you're still like trying to figure out how to get the maximum scrap. I'm a little anxious about this thick paper tearing well, and I thought that I would do it off camera, and I thought, well, where's the glory in that? So we'll see. And I went for the smaller side of this ruler so that it would be more of a defined edge. It's pretty cute. So if I want it to be, I need to measure at my smallest. So if I get these pictures up, that's probably the best way to determine. I know this is my height. It's coming together. This is when you can really start to see a page. Oh, I got to go this way. And this comes on top, and it's at the stripe. It's right there. You know what I could do to save a little space is I could overlap that. I think I just need to take off 1 inch. So that'll give me, when you have limited paper and it's like, you know, your favorite color, it's when I start getting really nervous about, you can always trim a little more off than, you know, and you can't put it back. So let's see how this looks. It's a lot of fiddling for what looks to be an easy sketch, but if anybody can complicate something, I'm your girl. Okay, that is it. That's going to be it. So let me tape down. I don't know about the wood grain. The reason the wood grain has some appeal to me is because the paper I chose is so very white. And actually I like that a lot. So the orange peel will go back into the cupboard. I'm going to grab a scrap piece of cardstock. These are cardstocks I got in kits that I don't like, and so I just have a big pile of them. Then I'm going to trim this down because there's no way I'm going to waste a whole piece of this. So I'm going to get 4 inches here. So I don't remember if I already asked this or not, but have you worked with cocoa vanilla before? You know, it's Australian, and I saw yesterday where they've got a new line coming out. Now, I couldn't tell you for love or money what it was, but so I put a dark piece of paper down for a contrast so I can know that I'm getting my edges straight. And one thing I'll say about the cocoa vanilla is that I guess because it's from Australia and it maybe they work in meters over there, their paper is the only paper out there that is slightly more than 12 inches. And this company, their 12 by 12 is 11 and 15/16, which is one of the reasons why I don't like them. I don't like the color, I don't like the texture. It's a really big canvas, and I like a more compact canvas. That's why I don't like it. Just little things. So see how, that's what I'm saying, this cardstock isn't a true 12 inch. That's okay, I know how to work around it. And then this is going to go on top of this. Okay, so what needs to go down next is my pictures on to my blue paper, and it should be a 1/2 inch margin all the way around. And you know I'm going to get my little acrylic corner out. So I'm going to stabilize my base. I'm going to see if I can do this without a MISTI to show y'all, if you don't have a 12-inch MISTI, how you could do this. So if you don't have a magnetic surface, you could also use low tack tape. So just, if you're not magnetic, just envision low tack tape stabilizing your base, and you could tape down this, and then you just come right in. Now remember, I'm going to tuck this picture under this one, so I did not put any tape on this side. So that's going to let me tuck it under. So the next step is to tape this down, and remember my scallop right here goes on top. So I want my blue piece 1.5 inches down from the top, and I'm just going to set my ruler there because it's 1.5 inches wide, and it's going to let me bump up against it. Make sure it's straight. I've got to go on my tippy toes to see up there. And then from the left, it's just about 3/4. I don't have to eyeball it. I'll be bumping right up against it. So 3/4. I've been wondering, do you use 4x6 photos a lot, or do you use different sizes like I usually do? And I've been wondering, do you work with collections, or do you curate kits from your stash? I'm going to pull this down a little closer to me. So now this is going to go on. It's going to be cute. Do you like border punches? I talked a little bit about the Martha Stewart days of old. She would just spoil us with all the new releases. Now, my last picture. Every 2 weeks I do a cleaning of this room and put everything away and reset everything. And then the first time I go to use it afterwards, I'm like, where is everything? And I'm like, oh, it's put away. Okay, time for embellishments. This has been a little bit slower pace on a video, but hopefully you like the tips I'm sharing. I'll have to get my liquid glue out and get this corner down. I'm okay with this being up. Yeah, I need a little bit of liquid glue. I realized while I was getting out the embellishments and looking through them that I had a mistake on this. I mean, it doesn't matter, but I thought I would fix it because I couldn't figure out why I wasn't seeing very much of the stripe, and the sketch shows the stripe sitting on top of this photo mat, and so I need to get some liquid glue under the edges and all, and that's fine. But I am looking for journal cards because that's kind of a key element on this sketch, because it had that notebook paper edge down here, if you recall, and I just dropped 3 floral clusters in the spots where the sketch shows the clusters. And you know, I've shared before, I don't mind starting with a sketch. It's a starting point, and someone's done the hard work for me, and it lets me go a little faster and have some validation in my decisions. So I saw this journal card, and I also considered this one. But at the end of the day, I think what I'm going to do is make my own journal card. And so I went to the piece of paper that's the other side of this, and it's got this little graph on it. And I went to the elements piece of paper and I cut the camera strip. And so I think what I'm going to do is tape this down and do my notebook edge, and then I can do my journaling on it. On a notebook edge punch, it doesn't matter to me. You know, I don't think it has to be centered. It's not like a scallop pattern or anything. This is an EK Success notebook punch that has a rounded edge to it. Sometimes you'll see a rectangular notch. Whoops, no worries, I can fix that. This is that other notebook edge punch. Which one do you have in use? I like them both. I will say I think I like this little round one more. I trim the edges off to clean that up a little bit, and let me get this out of the way. I think I wanted about that far down, and I wanted there to be 5 cameras on this, so that's what determined my width. So I think I can go ahead and tape the cameras down. Oh wait, no, I need to decide my height. Crazy. I need to mark that like that. I'll trim that down. So I've got my little journal card I made, and the sketch actually shows this extending over here. I don't really see a point in that. I think I do want it laying on top of the stripe. It could bump up to it. I think bumping up to it's fine. So I took some time to get my journaling done, and I actually printed onto the journaling card I made. When you make one, you can kind of take the risk with printing. And so how I did that was I created a text box in Pages, and then I cut this 4 by, it's a little bit longer than 6, cut this 4-inch wide paper like it would fit through like it's a photo, and I ran it through to test it, and it was a little high, so I just measured down how far I needed to take it, and then I have some repositionable tape, and I taped it right here, 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 here on this, and then ran it through the printer again, and I got lucky and it worked and there were no problems. I went ahead and taped it down, and I found this little blue label in my stuff and decided to layer it behind the Seriously the Best. I wanted to use that Seriously the Best, but because of the barbecue or the wooden table, it wasn't popping very much, so I just put that back there for a little more contrast. I thought about this one, but I felt like it resembled too closely the blue paper, and just trying to get a variety of patterns. So I've got the flower elements. I moved this one up a little to give a distinctive separation between it and and this. So this is like my big cluster with my journaling and my title, and then there's just this little visual interest. I think I'm gonna find a label sticker or a sentiment sticker. Got the Shot might be cute. I'll find one that works and probably run it, you know, somewhere in here, not down here, because then it would still bleed into this. I did grab this, love this. I'm sure you can see I've got a bunch laid out over here, and I think that works there and gives it more definition. And then I added this little yellow to this cluster because there wasn't any yellow up there. I brought in more pink down here. I actually swapped these two. I had just put something down here as a placeholder, but it was too much pink on pink, and this makes more sense in my mind. And so I think that we're close to done. I'll pop all of this up on foam. On my title, I opted for Dinner Done Right, and I put it in this blue because that was kind of an obvious choice. I'm hoping when I glue it down that I can get most of it onto the white. I would be okay with that. I can't come over so far. Anyway, you know, when you go to glue it down, that's when everything firms up. This little font is Sacramento, and I did an offset on it of 0.2, maybe it's 0.020, and then I stretched it a little taller. I don't know if you know that, but in Silhouette, you don't have to have a font as it's presented. You can stretch it taller, you can squish it closer together, you can spread it out. And so I like to do that to kind of modify it to the space I have. And I was driven by these pretty D's and R's. That's how I selected. And once I get it glued down, I'll then put together my dots for my eyes straight onto the page. And I kind of ruffled up this edge a little bit, and so I think it's going to be good. You're enjoying the process when everything you do makes you like it a little bit more. So I think what I'll do is get out my foam, and I use these foam squares that are 1 millimeter for my non-journal strips, and then I have some circular tape that's 1/4 wide and 1 inch wide, and this comes from scrapbook.com. So I got the recommendation for these from Jana Eubank taking her classes. So yeah, that's what I use. Okay, let me pause this and get to taping down. I think it's all finished. I was trying to see if I could get a butterfly on here anywhere, but I think it would just be a gratuitous ad, and so I'm not going to do it. I did put 2 hearts here, and then I put a 3rd one up here, so that gives me 3 puffy hearts. There is a small little heart here. I did use that, got the shot. I kind of struggled with where to put it, and I just decided put it down. It doesn't matter a ton at the end of the day. And then I was kind of into adding little things, and I went and got my beloved Pinkfresh clear drops in the shade of ice, and I'm going to be old school. I'm going to put them in 3s, and I do 3 different sizes. So I've got them here, here, and then up here. And when I had them out, one of them fell onto a camera, and I was like, oh, that looks like a little camera lens, the glass lens. And so I grabbed 5 and put them down, and looking at it, I think it's really cute. I got my little eyes dotted. I did want to just bring the sketch back in real quick so you could see how we stacked up against it. So this is it rotated, and I did, move this cluster up a little bit, but it's pretty true to the sketch, and it was fun to work with. I hope that you're having fun trying the page maps along with me. And I thought long and hard about stitching on this because I just love stitching. The obvious place to stitch would be to outline this blue, but then I couldn't reconcile myself to stopping it here, and there's no way you could do it here. I think that would look not very good. So I'm going to have to put this one to bed without stitching on it, and it's a beautiful layout anyway. This paper collection just does all the heavy lifting. So thank you, Vanilla Storyteller, and I hope that you had some fun scrapbooking, and I would love to hear after the pandemic how you started getting out socially. So this was 2021, the summer, and life was starting to get back to normal, and she had resumed work travel, and I just remember being so excited that company was coming to town. Not that she stayed with me that time or anything, but we did get to meet for dinner, and that was just a lot of fun. So you may not know, but when you get to 1,000 subscribers, you have some control in the back office over ad running, and I can turn off mid-roll ads at that point, and I'd really like to be able to do that. So if you are one of my subscribers, thank you so much for that. And if you're not, I'd ask you to consider becoming one just by hitting that subscribe button. Hitting the subscribe button just puts my videos in your recommended screen on your YouTube, and it would be much appreciated by me, and I think it would be more fun to have uninterrupted scrap time together. So just wanted to ask for your consideration on that. Would love to have you join the Scrap with Penny crew. At any rate, I hope that you've had fun scrapping on something along with me, and as always, thanks for hanging out. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a thing. I'll be back soon with more layouts, videos, and a little stash busted magic. So please come back and crop with me. Until next time, happy scrapping, and remember, this is where paper meets story. Bye-bye.